again. First of all, thank you so much, not just for coming out tonight, but I see so many familiar faces from our last premiere, so it's really great to feel the love in the room tonight, and especially on a night where, originally we had a different date planned, so, getting on Labor Day weekend, we're really appreciative that you all cut out a little bit of your time on the long weekend for us. So just honestly, big shout out to you guys to begin with. But yeah, this film is T.A.S. Where to begin? Do you want to?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. We focused on this movie to really take it back to our roots and bring back what we learned for cinematography and composition and lighting, and we just wanted to make a pretty movie. It wasn't really meant to be anything special, but we're really happy that we were able to finish it the way we did with an amazing score and get it on the big screen. So
yeah, and this all just began as an offhanded idea in September 21, and by April 22 we were rolling, which is the shortest period between conceptualizing something and putting it to screen. But as I think you'll come to find by the end of the movie, some of the topics we touch on just became more and more relevant day by day almost. So with that said, I really hope you all enjoy our big swing, and we've gone a little bit more high conceptual this time, so please bear with us, but in the same right, I really hope you enjoy this little bit of a unique magic we've cooked up.
it all makes sense by the end. So just stick around.
Yeah. And if we're good to go with that, I think it's time. So enjoy, folks. Two. Thank you. Well, Brent, Kayla, Todd, you guys want to join us up here? So yeah, that was the movie. As I said, it was a pretty big swing conceptually. I don't know, I felt a little bit crazy when I drafted that very first script, but seeing it all up there complete was something in and of itself. So thank you all for taking that journey with me and experiencing it for the first time on the big screen. So yeah, I guess with that, anybody got any questions?
No. As you said, as we're getting into the writer's strike and everything for AI, it folds in. But what was the initial thing that made you think of this as a concept of a movie inside being created?
Well, that's a bit tricky of a question. I'm gonna sit down. Basically, I had drafted the first two chunks, the first two acts, and had a fair amount of what I would call filler in there, and I tried to kind of shave that away, even though, it's a slow first act. I feel like a lot of that is important, and I forget if I had COVID or if I just got sick near the holidays, so I spent a huge chunk of time writing over the holidays, and it was, a bit of a fever dream. Like you said, it's not like that was really a hot button issue. I was just kind of taking in a lot of what the story deals with and thinking about new ways to come at time loops and just interesting ways to actually tell a story. As weird as it sounds, budget-wise, this was a little bit lower than our last production, so for me it really was let's take a big swing regardless of if it hits, if it doesn't hit, whatever. It was way more about just trying something so out there, and like you said, I could have never guessed over the next 8 months how prevalent AI and AI creation would become. This was a lot more of a sci-fi film when I wrote it, I'll say that much, and now it's a little scarily real. Yeah, I don't know. Is that pretty much it for that one? You guys didn't really, because that was a little bit of my fever dream really in the end. But yeah, any other questions? Oh, we got some in the middle. Ian?
So what does that button under the table do?
It alerts the high ups. Because yeah, I guess in the end, what's being displayed is obviously like a fictionalized world of Orange Hat, right? Like we're all somewhat playing ourselves. Me being the CFO in the other room, I guess, is the play there. But yeah, as he mentions before, I mentioned at the end, it has happened before, maybe multiple times, where these people are getting too close to falsified brain constructs and seeing them as real people. So it's kind of the like, uh-oh, it's happened again button. Yeah, but definitely a little bit comical. Aaron, you had another one?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate the cast and crew and T.A.S. You have made an interesting film to say the least, and dare I say, your most bonkers film to date. And my question is to the cast of the film. What was your thought process when you first read the script, and how did you prepare yourself for the roles, respectively?
Yeah, I mean, the script was pretty interesting. I mean, but I thought it was like really a really cool script, a really original script. And Daryl, you just we never worked together. This was the first time we ever worked together.
Yeah.
Like we've known each other for years, but I never worked with him. And I think you just reached out to me on Facebook, and we were like, "Hey, I've got this part in this movie. I was thinking of you for." And as an actor, that's always a great thing when somebody just is like, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" Especially when you're a nobody actor. So have a filmmaker come in, I still had to audition though, but I still felt like that you wanted me for the part. So yeah, I kind of just the part was kind of there on the script. I kind of just like filled in the little stuff that I thought like look wise and stuff like that, but. Overall, there wasn't a lot of preparing I had to do really.
How'd you approach both roles though?
Oh yeah, well, and both roles. Well, I think you just kind of I don't think that was ever planned, right? For me to be at the end. It was like it was that last minute. I think basically what you said was I need a real actor for this because there's so much dialogue for that last part. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. But that was a tough scene. That monologue at the end. That was a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as well. I've worked with Daryl and Jamara on a couple projects before this one, and they reached out to me and they said that they had this role that they thought that I would be good for. And when I read the script, I definitely realized that I related very heavily to Charlie because we are both people that we care very, very deeply about people, and so it was pretty easy to get into that mindset as well. So yeah, other than trying to make sure that I got the lines down, the preparation wasn't too difficult, but I thought that the script was a very interesting look into what could happen if stuff like this got really real, if that makes sense, to the point where it's like, I'm trying to think of how to word this, but to the point where like people are realizing, okay, this is a little bit too real. And like Daryl said before, this definitely touched on a lot of things that's happening in our world today, so it definitely became a lot more real.
Yeah, anything on that? You're an actor too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I read the script, I basically just wanted to play a crazy guy in a mask and do some fights. So I got to do both of those. And yeah, choreographing the fight scene was a lot of fun, and we, I don't know, it was just a lot of fun kind of making the character from scratch. And Daryl was, when he gave me the script, it was just kind of a thing where he's just like, "Can I do this?" He was like, "Yeah." "Well, what about this?" "Yeah, do it." Like, I don't think I ever once heard you say, "No, that's a little too out there."
No, not on this one. Oh, thank you. Okay, any other questions out there? Oh, in the back, Tony.
Me watching Jamara, were you nervous when you did your acting? because you look a natural actor.
Thank you. That is one of the best acting performances I think I've ever given. Those are not the first takes. That much can be said. I was very excited that day, actually. I was just happy to be on camera instead of behind camera, and a lot of work actually goes into acting and actually like performing the lines exactly how you want to, without stuttering, without messing them up. Like, props to these guys. Like, I only had like a handful of lines, but like to do those monologues and to give that emotion, like, incredible work. So it was nice to, yeah, not nervous, just excited.
Is there Mike?
So the first act of the movie kind of reminded me of just in terms of presentation and the way that everything was sort of laid out. It was kind of like an episode of The Twilight Zone. And I was just wondering, was The Twilight Zone an inspiration for this film, and what were some of the other inspirations?
Oh man, yeah, definitely. Like that is probably, was it Twilight? Black Mirror, yeah. We were kind of leaning into like Black Mirror, which is what, a new age version of Twilight Zone, right? But no, it definitely had those vibes on set. Like I don't know influentially how much else it leaned into, but I really liked this part. Oh my gosh, A Ghost Story was a big influence for me in terms of having the confidence to have a slower paced movie, to experiment with the 4:3 format, because yeah, sure, I've taken a big swing here, but visually I think this is probably like up there for what I can achieve with the black magic, because I was just trying to hone in so much on that, and yeah, those kind of things are very visually heavy, right? And I kind of like this intersect of horror, supernatural things, and then the reality is kind of the scarier thing is the human, which I know is a big theme in a lot of those older kind of sci-fi twist kind of things, but I love that intersect of like what it could be. And I mean, in the end, when you get there, it's a glitch, right? Like that's where a lot of this stuff is coming from, it's glitches, but like I feel like there's just enough hints to make you think like, oh, well, are these cannibals actually sneaking into her house to do these things? Are they messing with the generator to screw? Like, I feel like that uncertainty all piles on from a very like, I don't want to say unreliable narrator, but yeah, like you're saying, that Twilight Zone, like unreliable like presentation almost. And that was, yeah, a big influence in being able to just kind of go a little more art housey in the beginning. And yeah, I don't know, I didn't know if you were going to join us on, but I feel like I got to give a shout out to Telmo when we're talking about that too, because a lot of the essence of that first act, and especially the second act, came from Telmo and the score. I did what I could to get the edit there, but it really was a lesson about how much like that style of horror or supernatural, whatever you want to call it, needs the score to stand up. So yeah, I got to give a huge shout out to Telmo in regards to that. What a score! What a score! Yep. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
I know in particular, I actually don't remember if it was in the first act or the second act, but the first time Sarah is sitting around the fire and she's looking around and the score really swells and it really brings you into her mind and her subjectivity and what she's thinking there. That was so good. That was really good. Yes.
And that's what I mean, like, that, it's so hard to describe because you don't get to see all the cuts leading there, but like, when that hit, it was like, oh my god, he cracked it. Like, I did what I could to convey that, but it was Telmo who brought it home, right? It's incredible. Christian, you got one?
Yeah. What was the production process, post-production, like how long did it take for, you know, each phase of production?
Okay, well, yeah, that's a little interesting. So the first chunk was shot from, we just had this, it started in April 22 and shot for about 2 months on the weekends. We wrapped that and we're pretty much wrapped. We didn't do much pickups for that section. And then we all came back in February of this year. Again, huge shout out to Film London. I don't know if Dod's in the house or not, but we got an amazing location in that final act. So we all came back on the 25th and 26th and filmed all of the Charlie stuff, all the writer's room stuff, because I actually needed to have edited the end of the movie so that was the actual footage playing back so she could interact with it. That was a big thing for me. I didn't want to have Charlie trying to interact with a blank screen, right? So we had to chunk out a little bit for that, but then pretty much, yeah, once we shot that last bit, it's been trying.
There was a little break in between when Jamar got pregnant.
Oh yeah, well let's talk about that while we're talking about timelines. So, 2-3 weeks into the shoot, we found out that Jamara was pregnant. And that threw everything for a loop a little bit. So I think we went really hard and then had to take 2 or 3 weeks off to just kind of recoup and straighten everything out and come at it with fresh eyes. But yeah, I mean, Andromeda should get co-directing credit. She was there for half of it.
You did a really good job.
Did I get off topic there?
You did get off
What was the topic?
So we filmed in February of this year, and then pretty much from February till last week, we were just kind of fine-tuning the edit. I think it was like this last month, like all of August, maybe at the end of July, we were just kind of working with the finished product and honing in with Telmo and working on the score and fleshing everything out. So and Tad did some special effects, which we forgot to put in the credits. So
Yeah, that was sorry. We're getting there. We'll add it.
But yeah.
Sorry, was Tad responsible for the moon that was on?
Yeah,
That was awesome.
moon, gunshots, what else did you do?
The static.
The static.
Yeah, all the static effects at the end.
Yeah, it's been like a solid 2 years from conception to shooting to editing.
Any other? Oh, Devon, sorry.
I just wanted to say I think what you guys accomplished here was really great considering the limitations and everything, scheduling. It kind of reminds me of like a budget Cabin in the Woods like sequel or a Black Mirror episode, which is really cool. I think you said you had some apprehensions whether or not you went too far. I think you could have gone even further a little bit. Like I was imagining that Charlie herself was part of a simulation. And
Oh my God.
Back to some practical kind of patterns in the air. But, that's just me. But one thing I was wondering about, so you guys said you filmed kind of throughout April and then later in February. So I imagine you guys had a lot of challenges in terms of keeping continuity when it's the same location but different time of year. So how did you guys kind of manage, continuity?
So
There was no continuity.
well, even so.
We wrote it into the script.
Yeah.
So a lot of the kind of one of the genius things about the script was that we kind of wrote a get out of continuity free card because anything that we could just say was just like, yeah, it's a glitch or it's just in a simulation or something like that. So and we also had the excuse of like the solar flare messing around with the weather. So there was a lot of situations where it's like it's snowy one day and then the next weekend we shot, snow had melted, it was all rain and yeah, we and then also to factor that in, we the stuff that we came back for in February was all the writers' room stuff, so that was outside of the film. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I was admittedly I was a little worried, like going in, like oh no, there's so many things, and then when that reveal happens, like okay, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of it. That's why I right at the end of my intro is just like, yeah, just bear with us, guys. Like, cause you really got to get there for a lot of things to make sense, And yeah, like Todd was saying, it was a lot of hard cuts. So like, I don't think we shot with Angel beyond that February chunk. It was kind of just a cut off there. We went back to grab like some generator stuff, like weird little tiny things, but nothing you'd have to worry like tons about continuity for. It was again, like Todd was saying. The way we wrote it in the script kind of saved us there. Yeah, definitely. We got some.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I continuity stuff too.
Oh my God, yeah. Big shout out to within the chunk. One huge thing that kept us going was we actually had a dedicated person doing continuity for. This is our first one. We've had like chunks where you have like sections you needed, but the whole shoot we had Christian absolutely killing it. Like the notes to edit this were so incredible. Like huge shout out Christian. Like you don't understand how much that makes a difference at an end. And Ian, did you have another question?
What was the biggest challenge with the limited aspect ratio?
Sorry, with what aspect?
The limited aspect ratio. What would you say was the biggest challenge shooting in a new format?
Well, inspired by Ghost Story, I think it's a kind of how you come at it, because I didn't actually feel limited. In many ways, I felt freed. You've only had, I mean, this is a little bit of a technical deep dive, sorry guys. But for many years now, I've only really ever had the choice between like 185, 239, like typical scope or full screen option kind of things. We've messed around a little bit with other stuff recently, but more so to lock off those sides, and I don't know, there's a certain panache to shooting with it. Like I feel like seeing it all on screen, like I got a pretty good grip of it fairly soon. Like I loved how I could kind of set up these kind of one shots where the head's in the top corner and the body cascades like through the rest of it, and it felt really freeing to work with this new format and fresh. I'd say it wasn't the biggest. The challenge for me is the edit and watching it, because I was always a person who hated, you know, the Michael Bay 15 aspect ratios in a scene, and I think ours is justified, but yeah, it was really weird to edit and go through every single shot and nail the, you know, aspect ratio, color correct, all that stuff at the end when it gets really choppy. It was a time editing that. But yeah, any other questions per se? Oh, we got a couple. Mike.
How do you feel about AI art?
Ooh, that's a bigger one. Oh man, I not to be too controversial, but I'm kind of the opinion of AI is how you use it. I don't want to go too deep into everything right now, but in terms of writer strike stuff, I think we got a lot of greedy people who want to do some stupid stuff with the technology, and I think that's why we're getting these things happening. I think if you were to just say, use basic AI for basic AI things, it wouldn't be dangerous, but again, that's a whole topic in and of itself. The AI art, I'm glad that it didn't take off. I was a little scared when, you know, those first few weeks of Midjourney, it was like everybody was doing 12 things for their profile picture, and it was like, oh, is this the new norm? But no, it kind of weaned off. I think we all realized that there's a value to real art, and like even concept art, like how people want to say it's okay for that. I don't agree with that, right? Like I think if you can hire a human, you should be hiring a human at the end of the day. I don't know, that's a little contradictory, but I mean, it's not that stupid crap going on with Hollywood right now.
What each of you have coming up in the future for projects?
Oh yeah, we got some stuff coming up. Well, I mean, shout out to Brent and Pete. I've spent the summer shooting a feature film for them. It's called Night with Nathan. Hopefully that's the next thing in the pipeline. Yeah. And then with some friends from our podcast, we've been shooting a little anthology series, and yeah, we got another thing cooking with Mike up here. So Orange Hat's been kind of helping out with other projects lately, and we're kind of building towards our biggest project next year if that all goes through. So yeah, it's lots of stuff on the horizon. But yeah, any other final questions? We got one. Is that a 2 minute? Yeah. Last questions. Pete, or sorry, behind Pete. Yeah.
Yes, you. It just seems like so much like a Simpsons kind of thing, like where they're asking like Rainier, like all this kind of stuff, like that's the joke kind of thing. But anyways, I just want to say, great film, but it very reminded me of Cloverfield, or that John Goodman Field film.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like in that bunker or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. That playing with the idea of the end of the world and the way it would settle, definitely. Love that film, so probably bled in a little bit for sure. Was there one last question back there, Aaron?
I was just gonna ask what you're gonna do next with the film, like possible festival runs, or just straight to releasing it on streaming or...
Man, I don't know. That's kind of one of the things. I very much made this as an experiment. I guess I'll show it to the channels of people, but I think it may be a bit too out there for our normal distribution hopes. So it might just be one of those cases where we end up distributing it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I want people to see it. I really do. I think this is a big swing and a big concept, and I think there's been some crazy good performances all across the board in this, and I'm really proud of what we got for how wild and out there we were going. So yeah, huge thanks again to the actors for joining us today, especially on stage. I know it's not easy. And yeah, again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the Bellins for hosting us, because that was 90% of our locations. And Yeah, and thank you guys one more time. Honestly, it's been great to share this with you all. So thank you so much. Have a good one. Become safe.